Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Kim Owen. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Robert Bowen Ivers. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and scouts from the Adelaide Gang Show. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Robert Bowen Ivers. Robert Ivers was born on the 27th of April 1914 in Maxville, New South Wales. He was one of 7 children born to Albert Ivers, and a school teacher, and his wife Bertha. Robert received his education at Maitland Boys High School with his brother Edward, and the two were inseparable companions. After his schooling, Robert briefly operated a pineapple plantation near Lismore. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, he was working as a developer and printer. Robert Ivers enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 17th of June 1940. He was assigned the rank of private and began his initial training at Walgrove. In July 1940, he was allocated to the 2nd 19th Infantry Battalion and was later reunited with his younger brother when he was assigned to the same unit a few months later. During training in Bathurst, Robert Ivers was appointed acting corporal. He and his brother took their final home leave together in late December before returning to camp to prepare for embarkation. On the 29th of January 1941, Private Robert Ivers boarded his troopship and departed Sydney for Malaya. During this voyage, his new rank of corporal was confirmed. Ivers arrived in Singapore on the 18th of February and proceeded to Seremban in southern Malaya for further training, focused on serving under tropical conditions. Over the following months, they rotated between Seremban and Port Dickson on the coast, and Ivers was selected for a brief picket detachment in Singapore. On his return to his unit, the 2nd 19th Battalion moved to the airfield at Kluang for more training. By this time, fears that Japan would enter the war and invade Malaya were growing. As a result, Ivers and his comrades were moved to the east coast, taking up positions around a vital road junction at Gemalong. There, they were engaged in preparing defensive positions in the event of a Japanese attack. In December 1941, Allied fears were realised when Japan entered the war and commenced an invasion of Malaya. Ivers and his comrades did not directly confront their enemy until January 1942, however, as Japanese forces continued their rapid advance towards Singapore. On the 19th, the 2nd 19th was rushed forward to the crossroads at Bakri to reinforce the beleaguered 2nd 29th Battalion and allow them to withdraw. By the following day, however, enemy forces had managed to outflank the 2nd 19th's position, forcing them to begin withdrawing towards Paret Salong. Continuously harassed by Japanese air power, Ivers and his comrades were forced to fight their way through a multitude of enemy roadblocks as Japanese forces followed in hot pursuit. It was at some point during this retreat that Ivers' brother Edward was killed in action. Forced to keep going without him, Corporal Robert Ivers continued retreating with his comrades towards the bridge at Parat Salong, where they met with stiff resistance from Japanese forces. At some point during this clash, he too was killed in action. Only weeks later, the Japanese advance reached Singapore Island, and the garrison was forced to surrender, resulting in the capture of thousands of Allied personnel, many of whom would later suffer as prisoners of war. Today, Robert Ivers rests at Kanji War Cemetery in Singapore, next to the grave of his brother Edward. Both lie beneath the inscription chosen by their parents. It reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life." Corporal Robert Ivers was 27 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Robert Bowen Ivers, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.